The continent of Africa stands at a crossroads, a place where history, power, and ambition meet under the heat of the sun. Across its 54 nations, new voices are rising. They speak with confidence, shaped by the lessons of the past and the possibilities of the future. From the markets of Lagos to the deserts of the Sahel, from the ports of Dakar to the energy corridors of Nairobi, a quiet transformation is unfolding, one that could redefine Africa's role in the world for generations to come. For centuries, Africa was often viewed through the lens of others, its stories told by outside powers, its resources extracted, its borders redrawn without consent. Yet beneath that narrative, another one persisted, a story of resilience, of kingdoms and empires that thrived long before the modern world took notice, of societies built on knowledge, trade, and connection. That spirit never vanished. It merely waited for the right moment to return. Today, that moment seems closer than ever. The talk of a new alliance, one built not on dependency but on cooperation, has captured the imagination of millions across the continent. Leaders speak of unity, shared defense, and economic independence. Ordinary citizens discuss what a self-reliant Africa might look like, a continent where the value of its land, its minerals, and its people remains within its own borders. In the capitals of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, discussions of regional solidarity have become louder. These nations, once separated by colonial borders, now share a renewed purpose. They speak openly of creating institutions that reflect African priorities, regional banks, infrastructure partnerships, and security frameworks shaped by their own realities. To many observers, this is not isolationism. It is reclamation, the idea that Africa's development must come from within. The notion of independence has always been complex. Political freedom was achieved decades ago, but economic independence has proved more elusive. The systems that replaced colonial rule often kept nations tied to external currencies, markets, and aid structures. Over time, many began to ask whether such dependence could ever deliver true prosperity. The new generation of African policymakers sees this question not as an academic one, but as a matter of destiny. The world itself has changed. Global power is no longer held in one hand. The rise of Asia, the resurgence of South America, and the influence of regional blocs have shown that multipolarity is the new order of things. Africa, with its population of over 1 billion and its vast natural wealth, is emerging as one of the key centers of this global shift. Where once its role was defined by what it provided to others, now it is increasingly defined by what it chooses for itself. At conferences and summits, the language has evolved. African leaders speak not only of aid but of investment, not only of assistance but of partnership. Across the continent, institutions are rethinking the way they engage with global powers. Trade routes are expanding south and east. Digital networks and logistics corridors are being built to connect African cities directly to one another without always passing through foreign hubs. These are quiet revolutions, economic, technological, and cultural, that together form a powerful current of change. In universities and think tanks, a younger generation of scholars analyzes how this awakening can become sustainable. They point out that true power will depend not just on natural resources, but on education, transparency, and innovation. The alliance many leaders now discuss will succeed only if it invests as much in people as it does in politics. The continent's youth, dynamic, creative, and increasingly connected, are the ones driving this conversation forward. Beyond economics, the conversation reaches deeper into the idea of identity. What does it mean to be African in a world of shifting alliances? For decades, the narrative of dependence shaped how people imagine their place in the world. But the emerging view is one of confidence. Across social media and the arts, in science, and in entrepreneurship, Africans are asserting their own narratives, telling their own stories, and redefining the image of their nations. Still, challenges remain. The continent's diversity, once used as an excuse for division, must now be its strength. Building trust among nations that differ in language, culture, and governance will not be easy. Yet history offers proof that cooperation is possible. The African Union, the Economic Community of West African States, and regional trade agreements all reflect decades of effort toward integration. The new wave of collaboration simply extends that legacy into the modern era. Global observers are watching closely. Some see in Africa's assertiveness a long overdue correction, a rebalancing of global relationships. Others express concern, warning that rapid realignment could bring instability or competition among major powers. The truth likely lies somewhere in between. Africa's future will depend not on how others perceive it, but on how it manages its own house, how it strengthens its institutions, and how it navigates both opportunity and risk. The idea of an African alliance without Western influence is not necessarily one of rejection. It is, at its core, a search for equality, a wish to engage the world on fairer terms. For many leaders, it is less about cutting ties and more about choosing partners freely. Whether those partners are in the West, the East, or within Africa itself, the goal is sovereignty, the ability to decide, to plan, and to prosper without constraint. In recent years, a wave of public sentiment has fueled this transformation. From protests demanding fair trade to movements calling for the return of cultural artifacts, Africans everywhere are challenging the narratives that once defined them. In their voices is both frustration and hope, the frustration of promises unfulfilled and the hope that a new era is dawning. Economically, signs of momentum are already visible. In regions once dominated by extractive industries, local entrepreneurs are creating new value chains. Technology hubs in Kenya, Nigeria, and South Africa attract global investors eager to tap into Africa's innovation. Energy projects in the Sahel and East Africa aim to power entire regions sustainably. Step by step, the foundations of autonomy are being laid. Culturally, the same confidence shines through. African film, fashion, and music are shaping global trends. What was once considered peripheral is now mainstream. Young people from Accra to Johannesburg are proving that influence can flow both ways, that Africa can export not only minerals, but imagination. For the alliance to endure, however, it must overcome familiar obstacles. Corruption, governance issues, and regional rivalries still threaten progress. Transparency, accountability, and inclusivity are not mere ideals. They are essential tools for lasting transformation. Without them, even the most ambitious alliance could falter. As the global balance of power continues to shift, Africa's decisions will carry increasing weight. A continent that once struggled to have its voice heard now finds itself courted by many. Every major power recognizes Africa's strategic importance, its markets, its people, its potential. But the ultimate question remains: will Africa speak as 54 individual nations or as one collective force? That question echoes through meeting rooms, academic halls, and the streets. It fuels debate, passion, and pride. Some believe that unity is already taking shape. Others caution that it must grow gradually to survive. Whatever form it takes, the pursuit of a shared future has already begun. In the quiet determination of farmers investing in local cooperatives, in the research of scientists building African-designed technologies, in the resolve of leaders who insist on fairer trade, terms the alliance exists already, not as a treaty, but as a mindset. It is the belief that Africa's destiny belongs to its own people. The story of Africa has always been one of renewal. Each generation finds itself confronted with new challenges, but also new possibilities. This moment, defined by ambition and self-discovery, may well be remembered as a turning point. Whether through regional cooperation, continental initiatives, or partnerships that transcend old divisions, the dream of an empowered Africa feels more tangible than ever. When history looks back on this period, it may not focus on a single event or declaration. It will remember the gradual awakening of a continent that decided to define itself on its own terms. It will recall the leaders and citizens who understood that independence is not a gift but a practice, something earned and sustained through unity, courage, and vision. And as the world watches, Africa continues to write its story. A story not of isolation, but of self-determination. A story not of defiance, but of balance. A story that belongs not to the past, but to the unfolding present. From the savannas to the skyscrapers, from the mines to the universities, from the hands of elders to the hopes of the youth, a message echoes through the continent. Africa is not waiting for the future, it is building it.